Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. Chapter 1. The Beginning of Pain and Suffering. Not all men are created equal. It's what one boy learned the hard way and learned to fight and survive on his own. Hundreds of years ago, something known as quirks developed. Mutated abilities that give a users amazing powers, such as releasing light or forming ice at their command. The world became a superhuman society and people worked to be heroes, though some fall to the darkness of villains for many reasons. This is the story of a young boy named Izuku Yagi who will face the harsh world of reality, pain, suffering, hope, wrath, redemption, and forgiveness. 4-year-old Izuku Yagi and his sister Izumi Yagi waited patiently with their mother Inko Yagi. Izuku had messy green swamp-colored hair and green eyes that radiated joy and happiness. Izumi had the same mop-colored hair, but was longer than her brothers. Inko had long hair that matched her children's colors and eyes. The doctor came back with a clipboard in hand, the two kids bouncing excitedly to hear what he will say. He sat before the tree and spoke to Inko. "Well, I have the results of your kids, Miss Inko. I have good news and bad news." Inko frowned a bit before speaking. "Let's start with the bad news." The old man sighed. "Well, I'm sorry, but your son is quirkless." This revelation shocked the three, more so to Izuku, who dropped his all-might figure he held. "Are you sure?" Inko asked in worry. "I mean, my husband and I have amazing quirks. I understand your concern, and we did all the readings and studies on his DNA. But I'm sorry he won't be a hero." The man spoke. Izuku was still in his shocked state, hearing what the doctor said and how he can't be a hero now, like his idol All Might. All his little life, he wanted to help people and save them with a smile like his idol, and yet he won't be one? Izumi was worried for her brother, knowing the fact his dream was crushed, but she kept it down. The doctor continued. "Now then, to the good news. Your daughter Izumi has a powerful telekinesis quirk." This made Izumi brighten. "Really?" The man nodded. "Yes, with proper training and time, your quirk will be strong enough to carry things 10 times heavier than you and maybe even psychic attacks." Inko immediately brightened and hugged her daughter with joy. "That's an amazing, sweetie. You're gonna be a great hero. I'm so proud." Izumi laughed happily while hugging Inko back. Izuku watched on with hurt in his eyes, feeling his mother didn't comfort him in his need, but praised his sister immediately. The family headed back home afterwards. Izumi was bouncing in her seat excitedly, eager to tell her father about her quirk. Izuku meanwhile looked on from the window of the car, looking past the buildings and trees passing. He was hurt. He doesn't have a quirk, but even still, he knew deep down he had to work harder than others. He promised to be the first quirkless hero in the world. The car pulled up to an apartment complex as the trio left said car and up to the place they lived. Inside was a scrawny man with white shaggy hair and bangs. He saw the trio enter and smiled. "Welcome back." Inko came up to him as they kissed. "Hello, Toshi. How was the appointment?" he asked. "Izumi has my quirk, but it's much more powerful." Inko beamed happily. This made Toshi brighten as he picked up his daughter and spun her. "That's wonderful, sweetie. You're gonna be a great hero one day." "Ha ha ha ha. Thanks, Daddy." Izumi laughed happily while waving her hands around. While the three were celebrating, Izuku watched on with more hurt. They were fully ignoring him while celebrating for his sister. It stung him, but he tried to dismiss it that they were just overjoyed for her. He walked by them and went to his room and shut the door behind him. This got their attention as Toshi asked, "What's wrong with Izuku?" Inko sighed. "He's quirkless." This made the blonde sadden a bit. Reason was he was quirkless himself before his master gave him a powerful legendary quirk that made him a pro hero. He knew what it was like. "I see." He spoke while setting Izumi down. "I'm sure he will calm down eventually. Let's just give him some space." The family agreed, but unknown to them the choices they will make in the future will fully change everything. The next day at school, Izumi met up with her friends, the Bakugu and Todoroki twins. Kitsuki and Kitsumi Bakugu, both dirty blonde siblings with Kitsumi's hair longer in a ponytail. Shoto and Shoko, both twins as well with Shoko's hair longer than her brother's with one side white and the other red. Hey Izumi. Shoko greeted with a smile. How did it go with the doctor? Izumi beamed. I got my mom's quirk, but it's way stronger. That's great. You'll go pro with it when we grow up. Shoto smiled. Katsuki then asked, what about Izuku? Izumi frowned and sighed. His quirkless. This shocked the others, but more so with the two females of the twins. They both deep down had a crush on Izuku and wanted him to be by their sides in the hero agency. But knowing now he was quirkless. Shoto too felt bad for Izuku, but believed it would be for the best since he wanted him to be safe. Katsuki, on the other hand, had negative thoughts about the green cinnamon roll. He did tolerate Izuku when they first met, and possibly thought of making him a sidekick when they grew up with their quirks. But knowing now Izuku had none, he lost all respect to him and thought of him as weak. That's so sad. Shoko spoke sadly. How did he take it? It hurt him. Izumi answered, but he was a bit up this morning about it, saying he still wants to be a hero when we got here. What? That's insane. Katsumi stated. He can't be a hero. It's suicide without a quirk. I know. The green-haired sister nodded. I tried to tell him to think of another future, but he won't listen to me. She frowned. I don't want my brother to get hurt. This sparked an idea in Katsuki which will turn in his favor and an excuse to make Izuku's life miserable. If he won't listen, he started getting their attention. Then let's scare him with our quirks. What? The others yelled in shock. Are you out of your mind, brother? Katsumi stated. We can't just bully him. We're not gonna bully him. The blonde boy stated to keep his true intentions down and manipulate him. We scare him with our quirks and put him down. This will show him that those with quirks will be on top and those who are quirkless are on the bottom. But I can't hurt Oni-chan like this. Izumi spoke, unable to think of the pain she might bring to her brother with this plan. Let me at least talk to him again. I'm sure I can get through to him. TCH, whatever. But I know my plan will work out in the end. Katsumi stated. For days, Izumi did her best to try to make Izuku understand about being a hero and drop his dream for something else in mind. However, Izuku didn't listen and was planning ways to make his dream work. It irritated and saddened Izumi knowing her brother won't listen to reason. Shoko and Katsumi were too worried deeply for Izuku. Learning of his quirkless state, they both alternated their plans for him. If he can't be a hero, he can still be with them. They planned when they go pro. They will make Izuku a stay-at-home husband for them, and they will not only work hard to have Izuku live comfortably, but also shower him with happiness, love, and affection more than anyone else. One day, Izumi knew deep down nothing will get through to Izuku. Her mind trailed back to Katsuki's plan. It hurt her deep down knowing this was the only last plan she can agree to. She didn't want to do this, but knew it was for the best. She did promise herself that when it passes and becomes a pro, she will be a great wife for him. Izumi came to her friends again one day, which Katsuki spoke. Well, taking a deep breath, Izumi spoke. Okay, let's go with your plan. Shoko and Katsumi were nervous about this, but had to be strong for Izuku. Shoto agreed it was for the best while Katsuki was boiling with glee to finally hurt Izuku, which he now calls him Deku for being quirkless. The five went to where Izuku was, outside under a tree writing in his hero notebook. He saw his friends and smiled. Hey guys, Katsuki spoke up. Izuku, you still want to be a hero? Yes, Kakinets. Boom. Izuku screamed when he was cut off, Bakugo blasting him with his explosive quirk. He clutched where he was hit while growing teary-eyed. Hey Kakin, why did you do that? You really think you can be a hero, Deku? You're worthless. The boy yelled while kicking him down. Shoto came up this time with a glare. You need to learn your place, Deku. You are not cut out to be a hero. He froze the ground a bit, which covered Izuku's right arm in a thin layer of ice. Due to it, it seeped into his skin, which made Izuku yell in pain. Please stop, he begged. Katsumi, swallowing her guilt to go along with this plan, grew the same face like her brother before slamming her foot down on Izuku's frozen arm. Crying already, Deku? You can't even handle something like this. You're weak. Shoko too swallowed her guilt before she came up and blasted her freezing boil quirk, shooting scalding hot water into his chest as he screamed louder. Nothing you do will stop us, Deku. It's 5 against 1. The eyes of the boy locked to her sister, tears falling while he heaved and whimpered. Wani-chan, help me. Izumi nearly teared up hearing the pain plea of her brother. She really didn't want this for Izuku or for this to go on. But what choice did she have? She wanted her brother safe and give up on his dream. Biting back her guilt, she put on her best angry look before using her quirk and raised him in the air. Calling for help already, Deku? This horrified Izuku, knowing she was on this as well. You will never be a hero. She slammed him down hard, which would easily break his back and spine. Izuku screamed in agony, which made the girls almost flinch. Katsuki came up and slammed a foot on Izuku's chest with a snake. Remember your place, Deku. You are nothing compared to us. He laughed and walked off to leave Izuku in his misery. Shoto walked off with nothing to say. Izumi, Shoko, and Katsumi looked for a second at Izuku's painful state. They wanted to cry. They wanted to hug him and apologize, but they were committed to this plan now. They walked off, leaving him there in his pain. Izuku looked through his teary eyes. The 2 girls he trusted and soon loved now gone, and it hurt him more that his sister was against him. Wani-chan. Author's note. Hello everyone. After many times being on this site, I decided, why not? So I made my own account and published my own Izuku Yagi story. I love many I read over my time here. Some not so much, so I decided to take a different approach. Yes, Izuku will be a teacher at a school, not UA like in the anime. Don't worry though, Izuku will have plenty of times being at UA. You will see later. Thanks for reading. See you all later. Accepting reality, new dream. Izuku's life went through hell since that horrible day. He was always tormented and abused by his sister, the Bakugo and Todoroki twins. The girls at first hated the plan, but bit by bit, they started to forget about why they started it in the first place and found it fun to bully and hurt Izuku in any way they could. Izuku once tried to tell his parents about this, but they didn't believe him, saying Izumi and the others were not like that. He tried to argue, but they demanded him to stop and grounded him. This hurt Izuku deeply, knowing his parents were not gonna help him. Years passed by as Izuku did his best to work hard to reach his dream as a hero. But the bullying got even worse. People at his school began to bully and kick Izuku down. His teachers didn't give 2 shits about him and just let it happen. The bullying is painful for Izuku, but more so to the people he once called friends and sister. Izuku was now age 14 years old in junior high. It was the last semester of the school year. Izuku didn't really change all that much. Only that hidden in his uniform was the scars and pain of his past, a reminder of people who cared little about him. The teacher came in and spoke. All right, everyone. This is your last semester here in your junior years. On my desk are papers for you to fill out. These will be what will determine your future of what you wish to be. He snagged the papers and smirked. But who am I kidding? Immediately, some students activated their quirks as the teacher threw the papers and laughed. Huh, I know you will want to go to the hero track. All students minus Izuku cheered while showing off their quirks. Growing up in the darkness of his pain, Izuku learned that they all only wish to be heroes to get rich and noticed, never the other way around to help others in dire need. It angered him that they are only in it for themselves. Hey Teach, don't lug me in with this crowd. They be lucky to be sidekicks for a bucket lister. The voice of his biggest torment. Katsuki smirked while leaning against his chair. The students were in an uproar, all but Izumi, Shoko, Shoto, and Katsumi. Katsumi wasn't fazed by this as he stood up onto his own seat. Can it you extras? Me, Izumi, my sister, and the half and halves are the best ones at this shitty school to be pro-heroes. Yes, that right. You 5 are going to shoot for UA. The teacher mentioned, which shocked everyone as they whispered to each other. Izuku, meanwhile, grew angry, knowing they have no place in UA. They were not heroes, they were bullies. I'll be the richest and famous hero of all time, even more than All Might, Katsuki declared with a fist pump. And everyone will know my name. It will start at UA. The teacher of the class noticed another name and grinned under his lips. Oh yeah, Izuku, you're aiming for UA as well, right? All went silent and turned to Izuku. He grew a bit nervous as all eyes were on him. Immediately everyone bursted into laughter, mocking the cinnamon roll. Izuku felt hurt again, being in the light of the bullying. It got worse when Kitsuki roared and slammed his hand into his desk. An explosion went off as he went down to the ground. "You little monster, Deku!" The boy roared with malice in his tone. "You seriously think they would let you in of all people? You're worse than any reject in this world." Izuku tried to defend himself. But I can try, right? They got rid of the rule of quirkless getting in." "Shut up, Deku!" Izumi barked as she yanked her brother in the air with her quirk. He yelled in pain while feeling his body being crushed by her force. "You're a reject to this society and nothing more than a speck. You'll die in the exams and more so. You're useless." She slammed him down as he cried out in pain. Everyone laughed at him while he fought not to cry in his misery. Izuku's fuse was getting smaller now. Only a few more things were keeping him at bay. School came to an end as the others were piling out of class to head home. Izuku looked at the news from his phone, a small smile on his face. That fight this morning is still all over. Shame MT Lady is hogging the light for fame. He sighed. "I hope they get there. Act together soon." He was about to grab his hero notebook to pack, but a foot struck him. Gah! He fell back and saw his tormentors with malice in their eyes. "We're not done yet, Deku," Katsuki stated. "You still don't know your place," Shoto added firmly. Katsumi picked up Izuku's notebook and snorted with a smack. "Look at this." They turned to see Hero Analysis Notebook Volume 13 on the cover. "Really, you're still on those notes?" Shoko stated firmly. "You still don't know your place, dipshit." Izumi growled. Izuku gulped before turning to Katsumi. "Kat-chan, please give that back to me." "All right." She spoke, which made him brighten. She came up and held it out, which he started reaching. Boom. "Oh-h-h-h-h." Izuku screamed in pain when the blonde girl blasted him in the face. "Huh. Can't believe you fell for that." She laughed before she blasted the book with her quirk. Izuku gasped in horror. All his work he did in that book, years of analysis all gone in the blink of an eye. She tossed the burned book to the Todo siblings. "Finish it." "No." Izuku got up to grab what he could salvage, but Kitsuki and his sister pinned him. "No, stop it." "Shut up, Deku." The blonde yelled and blasted his ear as Izuku screamed in agony. He could only watch as the Shoko scalded the book in hot water, and then Shoto burned his book to ashes. His dreams crushed in the blink of an eye. His eyes grew tears as the Bakugo twins released him. He crawled to the ashes of his book while whimpering. "Why?" "Because you're weak." Katsuki stomped his foot on the ashes that remained. Izuku looked up at him with shattering pain. "You're pathetic to this school, a joke to society and all people out there who have quirks." Izumi kicked Izuku back as he cried out in pain. There was silence for a moment before she spoke. "You really want to be a hero, Deku? I have an idea that you can." Izuku looked back with a small sense of hope. "But pray you get a quirk in the afterlife and take a swan dive off the edge of a roof," she stated with a smack. Izuku grew wide-eyed in horror that his own sister's suicide baited him. He never would have imagined this before. It hurt him badly. The others laughed and left him alone, letting him dwell deeper into his depression and pain. When Izuku got far from the school, he was attacked by a sludge villain. But his idol, the last thing that kept him going, saved him and got his autograph. He felt like all his pain and suffering washed away at this moment. He then grabbed his leg when All Might jumped and landed on a rooftop. Izuku asked him if he could be a hero without a quirk. But what he said next changed everything. "I'm sorry, kid, but you can't be a hero." All Might spoke in a firm tone. Reality shattered that moment for Izuku. Everything, his life, his dreams, all of it, shattered like fragile glass. The words from his idol he looked up to went up in flames. Even the #1 hero believed he can't be a hero. You need to rethink your life, young man. Dream something that is reachable, the pro declared before jumping off. Drip, drip, drip. The sound of dripping was heard as Izuku sat there, eyes flowing with tears of anguish and pain. He was shot down by All Might of all people. He never felt so alone or hurt in his life. Izuku left to head home, unsure what to do at this point. Along the way, his mind reflected on everything that has happened from his past. Flashback. Age 7. Izuku came home and saw his sister crying while his parents comforted her. "What's going on?" Upon hearing his voice, his parents saw him before Inko got up and marched to him. "Mo!" Smack! He was taken back when she slapped him across the face. "How dare you, young man? I raised you better than this," she yelled. Izuku teared up. What did I do? Are you really playing that game?" Inko yelled. "Izumi told us how you hurted her back at school when she was only playing with you." Izuku snapped to his sister, knowing well those were crocodile tears. "No, that's a lie," he shouted. "She's faking it." Izuku Yagi. He flinched when Tashi stumped up to him. "We do not want to hear your excuses. You have one more chance to tell the truth." "I am," he barked. Inko slapped his cheek again, nearly knocking the boy to the ground. "Go to your room this instant. No supper for you. And stay in there for the rest of the night and think about what you have done," Tashi added. Izuku was full of anger and pain. His parents believed his sister more than him. He walked past them, his head down. He took a glance at Izumi, who had a small grin on her face. It angered and pained him that his sister did this. New flashback, age 9. "What is this, Izuku?" Inko demanded while slapping a paper down in front of him. His eyes widened, seeing low grades on his report card. "That's impossible. I studied hard." Izuku did so much hard studying despite what has been happening to his life. "Don't you dare lie to us, young man," Tashi stated angrily. "Why were you lagging on your schoolwork?" "I wasn't," he argued with hurt and hidden anger. "I always studied after school." Inko slammed a fist down. "We are ashamed of you, Izuku. Lying and making excuses. Go to your room now." Izuku grit his teeth before running to his room and slammed the door. Inko sighed angrily. "I swear that boy. Just ignore it. He'll learn from this." Tashi spoke as he went to work. New flashback, age 13. "No, Dad, don't." Izuku yelled when Tashi was taking all his hero notebooks, videos, and computer. "You should have learned better than to hit Shoko, young man." Tashi snapped. "I told you I never hurt her." Izuku yelled while trying to grab the only things that kept him sane. But Tashi swung and struck him in the face. Izuku screamed and fell back. "Do not raise your voice to me," his father shouted before Inko shoved them all in a garbage bag. "Until you get out of this rebellion stage, you are grounded till college. Now good night." He slammed the door behind him, leaving Izuku to fume in anger and pain while hot tears streamed his cheeks. Flashback end. Izuku seethed angrily while hot tears flowed. He felt trapped. His life was dark. He didn't know how much longer he can handle this pain. He got home before his parents and sister and went to his room. He sat on his bed while looking at his hands. "Why? Why can't I have a quirk? It's not fair. I just want to be happy and help people," he sniffled. He heard the doors open before hearing his parents and sister. "Izuku shouldn't be home yet, so we're safe to talk to you about something important." He heard Tashi. Izuku furrowed his brows before he cracked his door open to see his so-called family. Izumi asked, "What are you talking about, Dad?" Inko and Tashi smiled before they suddenly buffed up and changed to their hero costumes. "I am here." Izumi gawked. "What? All Might? You're my dad?" "Yes, your mother and I are the top pro heroes, All Might and Green Magnet." All Might boomed with a laugh. Immediately, Izumi brightened with starry eyes. "This is so cool. My parents are pro heroes." Inko giggled. "We want to tell you now since you'll be going to high school soon. And we have another surprise." "Really?" Izumi beamed. All Might approached her. "Izumi, it's time you learned about the secret of my quirk." Izumi listened as All Might explained about One for All, a powerful legendary quirk that is passed down for generations, stockpiling power and making someone powerful. Izumi was in shock and awe at this power, but more when All Might said this. "Young lady, I have chosen you to be the 9th holder of my quirk." "Really?" His daughter brightened in excitement. "Ha ha ha. Indeed, you have the heart of a true hero, and I find you worthy of this power." All Might laughed. "We talked about it for some time, and we know you'll do the best for this family and the world." Inko smiled. "Your father will start training you, and you'll get into UA with flying colors." Note, UA will be a college than a high school. Tearing up, Izumi hugged them both. "You're the best parents in the world." They laughed and hugged her back. Tashi dropped to his normal form. "Now then, let's go out and celebrate." Inko and Izumi agreed as they left. However, Izuku was fuming in fury. Learning that his parents are pros, and learning his own father is All Might, the man he idolized and cared for, shut him down and found his sister worthy of a quirk he can pass down, something he could have done for him, to make him a hero too. Izuku, blinded in his fury, slammed a fist into his wall, followed by the sound of crumbling plaster. He didn't know how much more he could take. He felt like a fool, believing in a world where heroes were kind and just, and now, finding out his own idol, his own father, had abandoned him for someone who didn't even deserve it. He couldn't bear the weight of his emotions anymore. He grabbed his backpack and dashed out of his room, escaping the house that had become a prison of lies and betrayal. Izuku didn't know where he was going or how far he ran, but he didn't care. He went as far as he could, the night sky shimmering down under him of the stars glittering. Soon, Izuku slowed his running before coming to a stop. He panted a bit and looked up, finding himself in a park. The park was empty and quiet, reflecting the years of his tormenting pain and loneliness. He lingered his attention to an empty bench and walked to it. Izuku sat down with his knees pulled tight to his chest, trying to hold in the sobs that were bubbling up from his chest. The cool evening air did nothing to soothe the burning anger and betrayal he felt. He buried his face into his palms, feeling the wetness of his own tears. The sound of his own heart was deafening in his ears as he sat there in silence. His mind lingered to his painful past, the moments of hope shattered by cruelty. The laughter of his former friends echoed in his ears, the cold dismissal of his own family stinging like salt in an open wound. He felt like a fool for ever believing in a world where heroes were truly noble, and now, finding out that even his own idol, All Might, was a part of the deception, had cast him aside for his sister's spiteful lies. The bench beneath him was as cold and unforgiving as the world he lived in, yet it offered a brief reprieve from the storm of his emotions. With trembling hands, Izuku pulled out one of his hero analysis notebooks from his backpack, one of the few he had on him that Kitsuki and his lackeys didn't destroy. He carefully opened the notebook, his eyes scanning the pages. The book containing the quirks he looked and analyzed over the years from retired heroes, heroes today, and even his own ideas of new quirks not discovered yet. On the last page, a single piece of paper remained untouched. It was the page where he had met All Might, where he had received an autograph and a brief conversation that had once been a beacon of hope in his otherwise bleak existence. He stared at the signature, the bold and proud symbol of his hero, feeling the warmth of that moment flood through him. But then the harsh reality of his idol's words crashed down on him again, as cold and unforgiving as the metal bench beneath him. "You can't be a hero without a quirk, kid." The pain of that rejection was as fresh as the bruises on his body from the day's torments. He felt his anger rise, his fist clenching around the notebook. Why did he bother saving that page? It was a mockery of his dreams, a cruel joke played by fate. He stared at the signature, the symbol of all he had ever wanted, now tainted by the truth of the man behind the mask. The hope that had once filled him now felt like ash in his mouth. He couldn't bear to look at it any longer. With a roar of anger and pain, Izuku ripped the page from his notebook and threw it into the nearby trash can with all his might. The sound of it landing was like the final nail in the coffin of his dreams. He watched the page, a silent goodbye to his childhood hero, and felt the weight of his own failure settle on his shoulders. It was a stark reminder of how far he had fallen from that moment of innocent joy. As the night grew colder, a peculiar figure emerged from the shadows of the park. Nezu, a creature of white fur, his form an intricate blend of bear, mouse, and dog, strode along the path with a grace that belied his size. His eyes, onyx black, gleamed with excitement as he took in the tranquil scene before him. The quiet was a welcome change from the bustle of the school day, and it was in these moments that he felt truly alive. His mind wandered to the upcoming year at UA University, where he served as principal. Each year, he eagerly awaited the new faces that would soon flood the hallowed halls, eager to learn and grow into the heroes they were destined to become. The scent of hope and ambition filled the air as students with quirks of every shape and size sought to follow in the footsteps of the greatest heroes before them. It was a scent that made Nezu's heart swell with pride, for he knew that each of them had the potential to make a real difference in the world. As he strolled along the moonlit path, his thoughts drifted to the person who had granted him this life, the one who had made him into the chimera he was today. He could still feel the gentle touch of the man who had taken him in, nurtured him, and given him the life and purpose to become more than just a mere creature. A silent tear of gratitude slipped down his furry cheek as he whispered a prayer of thanks for the life he had been granted. Suddenly, his acute hearing picked up the faint sound of sobbing. He swiveled his large, sensitive ears in the direction of the noise and spotted a young boy with messy green hair slumped over on a bench. His green eyes, filled with anger and pain, stared into the abyss of despair, while his freckled cheeks glistened with unshed tears. The boy looked as if he had been through hell and back, his spirit all but crushed beneath the weight of his own shattered dreams. Nezu blinked in surprise as a strange sensation washed over him. For a brief moment, he saw an image of the man who had changed his life, the one who had seen potential in a creature like him and had given him a chance to become something greater. The resemblance was uncanny, yet the emotions on the boy's face were vastly different from the warmth and kindness he associated with his mentor. He approached the bench with caution, his tail wagging slightly in concern. Izuku remained lost in his thoughts, oblivious to the approach of the peculiar creature. His mind was a tumult of anger and despair, the flaming embers of his hopes slowly dying out. The bench beneath him seemed to groan under the weight of his shattered dreams, a silent witness to his pain. The world around him blurred into a sea of darkness, and all he could feel was the cold emptiness in his heart where his desire to be a hero once burned brightly. "Young man, are you all right?" Izuku snapped from his mind from the voice. He snapped his head to the source and gawked seeing the chimera. He yelped in shock and fell from his seat and skipped back a bit. Why Yuri Nezu? Nezu's amusement grew, the boy's reaction. His bear-like smile widened. Indeed, I am. Am I a mouse, a bear, or even a dog? He chuckled to himself, his fur ruffling slightly in the breeze. But you can call me Principal Nezu, if you'd like. Or just Nezu. It's what everyone calls me at UA. Izuku's eyes grew even larger as he took in the creature before him. The principal of UA University was known for his vast intellect and strategic mind, yet here he was talking to him in a way that made him feel less like a lost cause and more like a person worthy of acknowledgement. What are you doing here? Oh, I often take nightly walks to clear my head, Nezu replied casually, his eyes never leaving Izuku's distressed form. The peace and quiet allows for the most profound thoughts. But tell me, what brings you out here, looking so troubled? Izuku felt his heart pound in his chest. He wasn't used to receiving genuine concern from anyone, especially not from someone of Nezu's status. He took a deep breath, trying to compose himself before speaking. It's nothing. I just had a bad day. That's all. Nezu tilted his head, his large ears perking up. It seems to me that you carry more than just a simple bad day. Tell me, young one, what troubles you so? His voice was soft, yet firm, and there was something about the way he spoke that made Izuku want to confide in him. Izuku took a shaky breath and sat back down on the bench. Nezu followed suit, his furry body surprisingly light as he settled beside him. For a moment, they sat in silence, the only sound the distant rustling of leaves and the occasional chirp of a night bird. Izuku felt a strange comfort from the presence of the creature, a comfort he hadn't felt in a very long time. He glanced at Nezu, his mind racing with a tornado of thoughts. Should he tell him everything? Would he even believe him? Would it change anything? But something about Nezu's gaze, the gentle concern in his eyes, made him want to spill it all out. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words lodged in his throat like a rock. Nezu on his part remained silent, his furry form a comforting presence beside Izuku. His eyes never leaving the boy, filled with understanding and patience. He knew that everyone had their own battles, and sometimes the bravest thing one could do was to share those battles with someone else. Finally, Izuku spoke, his voice shaky and unsure. Why are you here for me? He swiped at his eyes with his sleeve, trying to hide his embarrassment. I'm just below society. No one has ever helped me, nor will it happen. This sent red flags for Nezu. as his instincts told him that something was deeply wrong with this young man's life. He placed a gentle paw on Izuku's shoulder, the warmth of his touch seeping through the fabric of his shirt. "Young man, I'm here because I see something in you. A spark that refuses to die, despite the darkness that surrounds it." Izuku looked at Nezu as the chimera continued. "I want you to understand, young man, that my position as principal of UA University does not grant me the right to judge or look down upon anyone. I've seen students from all walks of life, some with the most powerful quirks and others with none at all. But what truly matters is the heart that beats within them." The words hit Izuku like a sledgehammer, resonating deep within his soul. He felt his heart race even faster, a mix of hope and disbelief coursing through his veins. Could it be that someone finally saw him, really saw him, and not just as a quirkless nobody? Nezu asked, "Please, tell me what's bothering you. Maybe I can offer some guidance or just be someone to listen." Izuku took a deep breath and made eye contact with Nezu, seeing the genuine concern in his eyes. He felt a surge of hope, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. With trembling hands, he clutched the remains of his torn notebook, his voice cracking as he spoke. He began his story from the very beginning, from the moment he was 4 years old and realized he was quirkless. He explained how his mother and father, once his biggest supporters, turned a blind eye to his pain, favoring his sister's lies and the twisted version of events she presented to them. He recounted the countless days and nights spent crying alone in his room, his dreams crushed by the very people who were supposed to protect and encourage him. And he revealed his secret hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a way to become a hero without a quirk. Izuku, reflecting on the people he once saw as friends, Kitsuki, Shoto, Katsumi, Shoko, and even his own sister, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Their relentless torment had become a part of his daily routine, a never-ending cycle that had worn down his resolve. Their cruel smiles and taunts echoed through his mind, each memory stinging like a fresh wound. He finally told Nezu the final nail in the coffin from tonight, his voice barely above a whisper. "And tonight, I learned my parents' all might in green magnet." He paused, watching the chimera's reaction, expecting disbelief. "They're going to give their quirk, one for all, to my sister." Nezu was quiet through the whole story with what Izuku told him. On the outside, he looked calm and focused, showing no emotions. But inside, he was a volcano about to erupt. He knew All Might and Green Magnet as heroes, as colleagues, as friends, and he had never expected this from them. The thought of them treating their own son like this made his foe stand on end and his blood boil. How could they, of all people, be so blind to the pain and potential of their own flesh and blood? Nezu's eyes fell back to Izuku, a deep remorsefulness in his gaze. "I had no idea, Izuku," he said solemnly, his paw still resting on the boy's shoulder. "Your situation is troubling, to say the least. But I must admit, your perseverance in the face of such adversity is truly heroic in itself." Izuku frowned and looked at his lap. "I don't believe that." His hands gripped his notebook harder. "For years, I've held on to the hope that I can be a hero, that there's a way without a quirk." Tears started to form in his eyes. But I've always known deep down that it's a pipe dream." Nezu studied him for a moment before speaking up. "Izuku, I want you to know that a quirk is not what makes a hero. It's the heart and the will to help others that truly matters." He paused, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. "And your heart, it is one of the strongest I've ever felt." Izuku looked up, his eyes red from crying. "But what's the point? Without a quirk, I can't even get into UA. Without UA, I can't become a hero. Everything that happened today, it showed how little everything was to me. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to be a hero," he whispered, his voice barely above the rustling leaves. Nezu's heart sank. He had never felt so much pain from someone else's words. The thought of someone with a heart so pure, a spirit so unyielding, giving up on their dream was unbearable. He felt his own anger towards Toshi and Inko flare up. He vowed to confront them, to make them see the mistake they had made in turning their backs on their son. But first, he had to help Izuku. He noticed the notebook clutched tightly in Izuku's hands and gently asked, What is that you're holding there? Izuku's cheeks flushed and he looked down at the notebook, feeling a mix of pride and embarrassment. It's just a hero analysis book, he mumbled, not meeting Nezu's gaze. Nezu leaned in, his curiosity piqued. Ah, a true mark of dedication. May I see? His claws retracted. Izuku hesitated for a moment, his cheeks flaming. He had never shown his notebook to anyone before, not even his closest friends. But something about Nezu made him feel safe, like he wouldn't be ridiculed or dismissed. With trembling hands, he handed over the notebook, his heart racing as the pages fluttered in the breeze. Nezu took the notebook with a gentle touch, his furry paws careful not to damage the pages. He began to flip through the pages, his eyes widening with every turn. The notebook was a treasure trove of knowledge and passion, each page detailing the quirks of various heroes with meticulous precision. There were diagrams, notes on tactics, and even hypothetical scenarios that Izuku had concocted to showcase their strengths and weaknesses. Izuku, Nezu murmured, his voice filled with awe. This is extraordinary. Izuku looked up, his eyes wide with shock. This is the first time in his life where someone of such high standing praised him, especially for his hero analysis. Really? He whispered, barely daring to hope. Nezu's eyes gleamed with excitement as he nodded vigorously. Indeed, your analytical skills are impeccable, and your understanding of quirks as well. It's quite frankly astounding for someone so young. He flipped through the pages, his eyes darting back and forth as he read through the detailed notes. The depth of your knowledge, the way you've broken down each hero's abilities and strategies, it's truly remarkable. Izuku felt a spark of something warm ignite in his chest. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, someone was acknowledging his worth, his passion, his dreams. He watched as Nezu continued to peruse his work, his heart pounding in anticipation of what the principal might say next. Nezu closed the notebook and placed it gently on his own lap, turning to face Izuku. Young man, you possess something far more valuable than a quirk. You have a mind that understands heroism in its purest form. Your insights, your strategies, they could be invaluable to someone who does have the power to change the world. Izuku felt a warmth spread through his chest, the first in a long time that didn't come from anger or despair. Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes as he took in Nezu's words, his voice cracking as he spoke. Thanks. He sniffled. I just wish I can use it for being a hero. Nezu nodded, his furry face a mask of contemplation. He leaned back on the bench, his large paws steepled beneath his chin. He sat there for a moment, thinking deeply before a light bulb went off in his head. Izuku, he began, his voice filled with excitement. What if I told you that you could still make a significant impact on the hero world, even without a quirk of your own? The hope in Izuku's eyes grew as Nezu spoke. How? He whispered, his heart racing with anticipation. Nezu leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Izuku, have you ever considered becoming a teacher? The question took Izuku by surprise. A teacher? He echoed, his mind racing with the implications. Nezu nodded, his amber eyes gleaming. Yes, Izuku. A teacher. Think about it, he began, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. Your understanding of quirks, your ability to analyze and strategize, it's unparalleled. You could help shape the next generation of heroes, guiding them to understand their own powers better and preparing them for battles ahead. Izuku sat there, the weight of Nezu's words sinking in. The thought of teaching had never occurred to him. But as he considered it, a spark of hope began to flicker in the ashes of his shattered dreams. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way he could still contribute to the world of heroes, even without a quirk. I never thought of it that way, he stammered, his eyes wide with wonder. But is that even possible? Nezu's smile grew even wider, his tail swishing with excitement. Oh, absolutely. He leaned closer, his fur brushing against Izuku's arm. You see, I have a friend from my alma mater, Anaya High. Her name is Shizuka. She's the principal there, and she's quite the inspiration. Like me, she believed that everyone has a place in the world of heroics, quirk or no quirk. He paused, his gaze intense. Shizuka's dream is to create an environment where every student, regardless of their abilities, can grow and thrive. She's worked tirelessly to implement programs and support systems for those who wish to pursue a heroic career, regardless of their starting point. Her passion for her students is unparalleled. Izuku felt his chest swell with a newfound sense of purpose. The idea of being able to help others, to guide them in their heroic journeys, filled him with a joy that washed away the pain of his own rejection. "I'd love to meet her," he said, a tentative smile forming on his lips. Nezu's eyes lit up. "Wonderful. I'll arrange a meeting. I know she'll be as impressed with your work as I am." He stood, his large frame casting a shadow in the moonlight. "But for now, let's get you home. You've had quite an evening." Izuku nodded, feeling a weight lifted from his shoulders. He stood up, and together they began to walk, the Chimera's small paws padding quietly on the pavement. The silence between them was comfortable, a stark contrast to the tension-filled conversations he was used to. It was as if the very air had been cleansed of the malice that had surrounded him for so long. As they strolled through the quiet streets, Izuku felt a strange sense of peace settle over him. For the first time in what felt like forever, he had a glimpse of a future where he wasn't a quirkless outcast. The thought of teaching, of sharing his knowledge and passion with others, brought him a sense of purpose that had been missing for so long. "Thank you, Nezu," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't believe you'd go out of your way to help someone like me." Nezu's tail wagged, sending ripples through his fur. "Nonsense, Izuku. The potential I see in you is something that can't be ignored. Besides," he chuckled, "it's not every day I get to meet someone who knows more about heroes than I do." As they approached the edge of the park, Izuku felt a strange sense of happiness bubble within him. He had found an unexpected ally in Nezu, someone who saw beyond his lack of a quirk and recognized his true worth. It was a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time, and it was as refreshing as a cool breeze on a hot summer day. They parted ways with a famed handshake and a promise from Nezu to set up the meeting with Principal Shizuka. Izuku watched the Chimera trot away, feeling a newfound determination to follow through on this path. He took a deep breath and headed back towards his apartment. When he arrived, the lights were off, and the place was eerily quiet. His parents and sister were still out, likely continuing their celebration for Izumi chosen to be the next wielder of One for All. The silence was a stark contrast to the tumult of emotions he had just experienced in the park. He walked to his room, his heart pounding with anticipation of the change ahead. As he entered, the room was a glaring reminder of his past, adorned with various All Might merchandise that he bought and obtained over the years. The posters, the action figures, the bedspread, it all served as a painful reminder of the hero he would never be. But tonight was different. Tonight, he felt a glimmer of hope, a chance to forge his path. With newfound resolve, Izuku walked to the first poster on his wall, a smile, his fist raised in victory. His hand hovered over the image, his heart feeling a strange mix of fondness and pain. He took a deep breath and slowly peeled the poster from the wall. The sound of the sticky residue giving way echoed in the silent room, a symbol of his letting go of the past. One by one, he removed the action figures from their shelves, placing them gently into a cardboard box. Each item brought back a memory of his childhood, of the unbridled enthusiasm he had for his hero. But now, they felt like relics of a time long gone, a time before he knew the truth about his family and his own limitations. He paused at the bedspread, running his hand over the fabric. It was threadbare in places from countless nights of restless sleep, of dreams filled with heroic feats and a quirk of his own. With a sigh, he stripped it from the bed and added it to the pile. The room looked bare without the heroic paraphernalia, but Izuku felt a strange sense of relief, as if he were shedding a layer of skin that no longer fit. Once everything was packed away, he took a step back to survey his work. The room felt empty, yet somehow lighter. The posters that had once brought him comfort now seemed like a prison of his own making, holding him captive to a destiny that wasn't his. He took one last look around before deciding it was time to face his new reality. The next day after school, Izuku found himself in a small, cluttered comic book store, the smell of dust and ink thick in the air. The owner, a middle-aged man with a balding head and a thick beard, looked up from behind the counter as the bell jingled. His eyes lit up when he saw the box in Izuku's trembling hands. "What do you have for me today, young man?" he asked, his voice gruff but not unkind. Izuku swallowed hard, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. He placed the box on the counter and opened it, revealing the treasure trove of hero merchandise that had once adorned his room. The man's eyes widened in shock as he recognized the first edition figures and posters. These are incredible," he murmured, picking up an action figure of All Might with reverence. The owner carefully inspected each item, his expression a mix of amazement and greed. "Where did you get your hands on these?" he asked, his voice hushed. "Some of these are worth a small fortune on the collector's market." Izuku spoke calmly. "I got many of this stuff growing up when I was a little kid. I don't want them anymore and was hoping to sell it." The man looked at him with a mix of confusion and suspicion. "Why are you getting rid of all this? These are collector's items, worth quite a bit." Izuku's gaze remained steady, but his voice was tight with unspoken pain. "It's just time to move on." The comic store owner looked at him, his expression softening. He knew better than to press further. He had seen countless people come in here, looking to sell their treasures for various reasons. Some were eager to share their stories, others held their cards close to their chests. The wisdom of years taught him when to listen and when to respect the silence. "Well, if you're sure, I'll give you a good price," he said, his voice a gentle rumble. "But remember, once they're gone for good." Izuku nodded, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "I know," he whispered. "It's for the best." The man took his time, carefully cataloging each piece, his eyes lighting up at the rarity and condition of the items. He worked with the meticulousness of a historian handling ancient artifacts, his thick fingers moving with surprising deftness as he calculated the worth. When he was done, he scribbled something on a piece of paper and slid it across the counter to Izuku. "This is what I can offer for everything," he said, his voice gruff but not unkind. Izuku's eyes widened at the number scribbled on the paper. The sum was more than he had ever dreamed of, a fortune that could open new doors for him. The man behind the counter watched him with understanding, recognizing the turmoil in the young boy's eyes. He had seen this look many times before, the moment when a collector realized the true value of their possessions and had to decide between their worth as objects of nostalgia and the opportunities they could provide. With a trembling hand, Izuku accepted the money, feeling a strange sense of finality as the bills exchanged hands. He knew he was saying goodbye to a part of his childhood, but the hope of a future where he could still contribute to the hero world was worth more than any material possession. He tucked the money into his pocket and picked up the empty box, feeling lighter than he had in years. He knew this was only the beginning of his newfound journey. So, this was the end of part 1 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.